This early morning, let's answer a question from social media. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi. This is the Lama you are looking for. This morning, we will chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two. But first, if you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as profoundly as Qui-Gon Jinn on Naboo, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. If at any point during this morning's live stream you have a question about Buddhist meditation or philosophy or even chanting, there's no need to be bashful. Simply type your question in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. All right. Modern Tektropolis wrote, "Help me make sure I'm not doing any Kundalini stuff by accident while meditating. I have been practicing semen retention for a few years. As of January, I also incorporated meditation. I found to help me a lot, and it did. I am much calmer, no more anxiety, everything is great in regards to that." Okay, so first thing is we've got someone practicing semen retention, and they've added meditation. Let's continue. There is one aspect of my meditation sessions that I can't really explain. Since I'm not doing this on purpose, I'm really seeing a lot of comments on how tricky this stuff is. I really don't want to go on this path yet or in the future. Here's what's bothering me. Around 15 to 20 minutes into my meditation sessions, I usually do 30 to 40 minutes per day, I feel two distinct sensations. The first one would be like a small current traveling from my sacrum to the back of my head. It is very, very mild. Sometimes it feels like blood flowing. Other times it has a certain electric feel to it. I'm not sure how true this is, but I've seen some yogis call this prana. A little help regarding this to identify what's going on would be great. The second stuff that's happening and got me worried is this. At around 20 to 25 minutes, by the way, I really applaud this guy's notes. It's like he's practicing science. Beautiful. Around 20 to 25 minutes after those small sensations I described above, a powerful electric shock explosion jolt happens in my back. Sometimes it happens around the sacrum, sometimes around my heart. Sometimes it is so powerful I can feel it in my fingers too. Very, very rarely I feel this. Powerful jolt through my body, head included. The last feeling of shock sometimes sticks with me for hours after the session, sometimes even days. There is also some weird things happening that happen the days after in regards to how people react towards me. But that may be bro science, and I don't want to get into that. Good. Let's continue. To better understand why I'm posting this, here's the small detail that explains my concerns. Good. I suffer from a tight pelvic floor, which I am currently addressing. However, when I meditate in the corpse position, the best for me to let me meditate more, I often get involuntary kegels, as in my pelvococcyx muscle, or what we would call the mula bandha, gets clenched. Sometimes I would do 40 minutes meditating with the PC muscles contracted. I also like to breathe very, very slow and time my inhales and exhales with my heart beating. I found that this accelerates the two feelings above. So what I'm asking is it okay for me to continue doing this if I do not look for any awakening, or should I stop and try different positions that might not contract my pelvic floor so much? I'm not complaining, as there is the charisma / magnetism to it. However, if I have to, I'll stop doing it. So I'm now going to, as is my practice, going to share some very disappointing advice. Let's see. Let's tap button 4. So, some people are very rigid, and they insist that everything that claims to be the Buddha's words is the Buddha's, or are the Buddha's words. From a certain point of view, they may, or they may not. The Buddha may have been a real man of flesh, blood, and bone. He may have been exactly what people say of him, a Buddha, or he may purely be an archetype. All that matters is the effects generated when we apply the instructions attributed to him. That's all that matters. I could tell you that according to some accounts, according to some biographies of the Buddha, he experimented with Kundalini Yoga and then forsook it, for it did not give him the results he wanted. But those are just words. I too have experimented with Kundalini Yoga, and I set it aside. It did not create the results that I wanted. I've interfaced with others who were long-term practitioners of Kundalini Yoga, and they manifested results that I didn't want either. That isn't that I hated them or wished them ill. It's just they're different results, and some of the results will speak to different people. Now we're going to take a look at 2 lists. So I'm going to push button number 2. So when we read the 81 chapters of the Tao Te Ching, we learn about Yang and we learn about Yin. Now, for years I've been told by a bunch of Westerners that the purpose of the Tao Te Ching was to reconcile or balance Yang and Yin. So imagine how surprised I was during my intensive study of the Tao Te Ching when I read time and again that we're supposed to be aware of Yang, but always, always, always choose Yin. When a thorough study of the Tao Te Ching reveals that instead of being rigid, it's better to be flexible. Instead of being fearful, it's better to be loving. Instead of being controlling, it's better to be laid back. Instead of being elitist, it's far better to be egalitarian. Instead of being competitive, it's better to be cooperative. Instead of being cruel, it's far better to be kind. Now, there are many quasi-spiritual systems that use energy or prana or chi or lung, whichever, or ki, whichever language speaks to you. Kundalini is just one of them, but they all have a similar side effect, which is prolonged practice of it speaks to people's rigid tendencies and controlling tendencies and competitive tendencies and cruel tendencies. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't need any help being yucky. I need help being wonderful. I need help being yummy. So I'm very much attracted to Yin, to being flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, cooperative, and kind. So let's look at being laid back versus being controlling. And based on that dichotomy, let's re-examine the tantric arts of love. There are 2 extremes, and you guessed it, a happy medium. One extreme is ejaculation phobic or orgasm phobic, and they avoid climax for the male gender or for any gender with great enthusiasm. Some might even say neurosis. The other extreme is orgasm thirsty. These people think they can orgasm their way to enlightenment, and they chase orgasm and orgasmic intensity with full enthusiasm. It's been my experience that these two extremes, even though they're opposite from each other, have the same results. They cause us to lean further into our rigidity and controlling tendencies. And just as we cannot make love in the name of virginity, we cannot be rigid and controlling in the name of being flexible and laid back. There is a happy medium when it comes to sexual tantra, and that is to engage in the sexual arts with your partner, with your cooperative, enthusiastic partner, in a sensual manner. Do not, in the Hebrew scriptures, in the Hebrew Shastras, it writes, do not approach the marriage bed like a starving man at a banquet. In other words, take your time. Savor what you're doing. Practice what you practice from a place not of contrivance, don't have a laundry list, or scatteredness, no frenzy, but from centered spontaneity. It has been the experience of a minority of yogis that practicing anything from centered spontaneity is going to be more spiritually protective. Neither chasing orgasm nor fleeing orgasm, savoring the present moment and practicing such meditations as notice this, relaxing, the essence of Mahamudra. That can be very, very effective. Why am I mentioning this? Because semen retention is an act of rigidity and a form of indulging or controlling tendencies. Choosing a path to become more charismatic, that's just another form of control. And this is illustrated beautifully in Star Wars. Now, not all Sith are created equal. Not all Jedi are created equal. But when we look at Qui-Gon Jinn, we see a man determined to be led by the Force and nothing else. And when we look at Darth Sidious, we see a man who's determined to lead the Force, to control the Force, to bend the Force to his will. So I think it's safe to say Darth Sidious and Qui-Gon Jinn are opposites. They both came to an end, so there was no immortality. Which path was more sustainable? Qui-Gon Jinn's path allowed him to be spontaneous and energetic and peaceful and loving. Sidious's path created physical corruption, where he lived in perpetual pain because of the price he paid physically for trying to control the Force to the degree that he did. If you want to be peaceful and more resilient and more wise and more creative in a sustainable way, the Buddha's path of meditation and contemplation can help. If you try to use quasi-spiritual tools to indulge our rigid tendencies and our controlling tendencies and our competitive tendencies, it is not going to end well for your mind or your body. So if you want the peace the Buddha has to offer and all the other good stuff, you're welcome to continue and practice with us for the remainder of this morning's session. I have thousands of videos on YouTube. Everything I do is free. Even my downloads are free. I charge for nothing because I'm, clinically speaking, an idiot. So now, let's move forward. But before we do, I'm going to pause for about 1 minute for housekeeping. Every day I live stream 4 meditation classes without any ads, health permitting. With your assistance, this channel could come to help the next generation of nuns, monks, yogis, lamas, and even brick-and-mortar meditation centers. Where's my thumb? I guess it's over here. Each replete with a resident teacher and their apprentice. If this speaks to you, and you want to help out even for as little as the cost of 1 cup of coffee a month, simply use your smartphone's camera to capture this QR code, or if you're old school, scroll down the description area below the video and click one of the donation links. Now, as they say in Celebrity Grudge Match, let's get it on. As that's going all the way back to the 90s. We're going to begin with bliss and letting go, which is known by many names, including completion stage Buddhist Tantra. We're going to use 2 methods to access the bliss. The first is to chant an invocation of Buddha of compassion. And the thing is, you don't have to believe or disbelieve. We're just playing with an idea. Please chant with me if you can. Namo Quan Chi Yin Pusa, 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 Namo Quan Chi Yin Pusa. Hands folded in front of the chest helps the subtle energies to coalesce. Namo Quan Chi Yin Pusa, 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 Namo Quan Chi Yin Pusa. And that's a pretty good place to stop. That was 16 reps. That was lovely. Now let's chant the Heart Sutra, doing the same thing with the hands. Going to chant it percussively. Avalokiteshvara is simply Sanskrit for Quan Chi Yin Pusa. Vinomalavalokedeshvara Bodhisattva, while practicing the deep practice of Prajnaparamita, looked upon the 5 skandhas and seeing they were empty of self-existence, Said here Shariputra, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not separate from form, form is not separate from emptiness. Whatever is form is emptiness, whatever is emptiness is form. Just use the word emptiness 6 times. What do we mean? Well, if you pursue emptiness literally, you'll find yourself in pseudo-intellectual skullduggery or superstitious belief. Both are dead ends. What if emptiness was not literal but figurative? What if whenever we relaxed into our exhalation, that which we had previously noticed during our inhalation now began to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void? That's it. Just the play of breath and our central nervous system. Let's continue. The same holds for sensation and perception, memory and consciousness. Here Shariputra, all dharmas are defined by emptiness, not by birth or destruction, purity or defilement, completeness or deficiency. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no sensation, no perception, no memory, and no consciousness. So none of this is literal. So whenever we exhale, we experience that which we noticed in the inhalation as if it wasn't quite there. So that's all we're saying, is that whatever we perceive, whatever we notice, we can release through the natural processes of inhalation and exhalation, through the interplay of our sympathetic and parasympathetic facets of our autonomic nervous system. No eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, and no mind. No shape, no sound, no smell, no taste, no feeling, and no thought. No element of perceptions from eye to conceptual consciousness. No causal link from consciousness to old age and death. No end of causal link from consciousness to old age and death. No suffering, no source, no relief, no path. No knowledge, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, without attainment, Bodhisattvas take refuge in Prajna Paramita and live without the wall of the mind. Without walls of the mind, and thus without fears, they see through delusions and finally accomplish nirvana. So walls are that which separates. Once we get comfortable with noticing and releasing, we experience profound freedom. All Buddhas, past, present, and future, also take refuge in Prajna Paramita and realize unexcelled perfect enlightenment. You should therefore know the great mantra of Prajna Paramita, the mantra of great magic, the unexcelled mantra. The mantra equal to the unequaled, which heals all suffering and is true, not false. The mantra in Prajna Paramita is spoken thus: Gate gate para sangate bodhisvaha. So This is a giant metaphor. We're saying the only thing to take refuge in is in the play of noticing and releasing, inhalation and exhalation, sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. That is the key that unlocks the door to enlightenment. But in a culture where there is a lot of magic and superstition, they use the mantra. That this practice of awareness and acquiescence is like a super mantra. And the mantra they use is really silly. May my practice of awareness and letting go cause me to go, completely and perfectly go to enlightenment. And now it's time for contemplation and meditation. This meditation is known as awareness and letting go and has many names, including Zen, Shan, Dhyana, and even Great Completion Stage Buddhist Tantra. Now, you'll notice above, at the top of the screen, in gray, I've typed the words Proto-Zen. You see, it was Bodhidharma who came from India and whose actions really helped popularize Mahamudra meditation in China. He taught both contemplation and meditation. However, the two most popular sects of Chan or Zen in China and Japan either practice absolutely no contemplation or practice really, really cryptic contemplation. And I think I misspoke. Either practice no contemplation or cryptic contemplation. However, when we read Bodhidharma's outline of practice, the contemplations used are straightforward. So that's what I'm going to share with you right now. The purpose of these contemplations are not to tell us a deep metaphysical truth. They're just to help us stop letting go or reduce the degree to which we cling. So the first thing we're going to stop clinging to or reduce our clinging to is the identity of an angry victim. We all have things that happen to us that are bad. This is just going to help us deal with it to a certain degree. We're going to play with 4 rhetorical questions, which are answers we silently and mentally recite, but without any intention of answering. During the inhalation, we can silently and mentally recite the first half, how could this? And during the exhalation, we can silently and mentally recite the second half, be quite just. Our second rhetorical question will how striving increase stress? Our third rhetorical question pertains to ultimate bodhicitta, the ultimate mindset of enlightenment. How could this not be me? Our fourth and final rhetorical question pertains to conventional bodhicitta of empathy. How could I free all beings? Free all beings from what? Free all beings from stress and the causes of stress, more specifically from the tyranny of our primal drives of hating, craving, and clinging. Not the presence of those drives, but their tyranny. So we come to our primary practice page. Up above we see these 4 contemplations, and down below we see our primary meditation. As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite tall, breathe deep. And during our exhalation, we could silently and mentally recite relaxing. So when we silently recite the word tall, we can sit just as tall as we can. When we silently recite the word breathe, we can feel our diaphragm. And as the diaphragm inflates and presses down on the organs of our abdomen, we can feel some sensation in the deep part of our abdomen, known in China as the lower dantian, or in Japan as the hara. Now, every time we breathe in, our sympathetic nervous system notices. It can notice emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. It can also notice sights, scents, sounds, flavors, and sensations. Sometimes its observations will be in the background and be very nebulous. Sometimes they'll be in the foreground and be crystal clear. What do we do with all that which we notice? Well, every time we breathe out, our parasympathetic nervous system helps us to both physically relax and mentally release. So the great irony is this: the ultimate meditation teacher is our own autonomic nervous system, which we get to harmonize with when we play with this meditation. Now, our mind is like a doggy or a kitty cat. Often it will snooze on the carpet and a sunny patch near the window. But sometimes it'll sit up, blink its eyes, yawn, stretch, and promptly commence the zoomies and begin running around. Ask anyone who lives with a dog or cat, and they'll tell you the zoomies are not a flaw. They're a feature. They're a good entertainment value. Similarly, as contemplatives, when we have the zoomies, it's not a problem. It's not a monkey mind to be tamed. It is an opportunity to use this energetic facet of our mind, this momentary hypersuggestibility, to play with these 4 rhetorical questions. But play with it mindfully. And after a few minutes or several moments of playing with these rhetorical questions, you'll feel your body and mind shift back into a mellow mode. And then you can return to meditation. So it's not a question of manipulating your mind into submission so you can meditate. It's a question of noticing which mode you are in, active or passive, and using the right technique, using the right tool for the right job to make the most of the present moment. If anyone tells you meditation is difficult, it's either because they were taught it incorrectly or they're trying to manipulate you. Let's continue. So there will be times when meditation is incredibly fun and interesting. There will be times when it's boring as hell. When it's boring, that's your body's way of saying, go play with contemplations. When the contemplations become too much work, that's your body's way of saying, go back to meditation. Well, let's seal our practice with the chants of love and letting go, which are known by many names, such as Mahayoga. Let's begin with the loving wish for universal liberation. May I, like the Buddha, master the Eightfold Path as well as liberate all others. Let's turn our attention now to kind ethics. May all beings practice of kind communication, conduct, and calmness flow spontaneous and uncontrived. Let us turn our attention to auspicious rebirth. May each being take auspicious rebirth, master the Buddha's path, and then help others do likewise. And let's conclude now with the 4 immeasurables. May everyone be free from stress, may everyone be happy. May no one be separated from the happiness. May everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging freed. If you feel I have earned it, type something in the chat window, give this live stream a thumbs up, and share it on social media. In approximately if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.